The Pan American Cruiser line and the San Martin in particular were released a couple of updates ago, and at the time I was not a fan of this ship or this line. It's based around a relatively new gimmick now called Advanced Sonar. And it works the same as every other sonar in the game. This one on the San Martin has a ship acquisition range of 5 kilometers and a torpedo acquisition range of 3.9. I'd say that's pretty strong by the standards of regular sonar consumables, but the advanced effect is that the thing simply shows the bearing to the nearest launch point of a torpedo fired from an enemy ship within 10 kilometers for 15 seconds. So anybody launches torpedoes within 10 km of you, then you get an indicator that looks like the RPF thing you find on Twist and Track or Perceptive, and it points in the direction of the ship that launched the torpedoes. Not exactly a fantastic gimmick for really anything. I mean, if you just pay attention to the minimap and you see a ship in an area, you know the ship has torpedoes, you can probably guess that the ship has launched torpedoes from that area. I don't think this consumable is telling you anything that good map awareness can't. And part of the reason I was disappointed in this ship and the rest of the line is because on World of Warships PC, it's based on a much more interesting and useful gimmick. Namely, there is a button that you charge up by landing main battery hits. When it's fully charged, you press the button, and it reduces your consumable reload time by something like 85%. And then on top of that, this line on the PC has radar, sonar, a super heal, and, well, when you can buff the cooldown on those things by 85%, especially for the heal, it makes the line much more tanky than any light cruiser has the right to be. Well, you can see here the heal, restoring approximately a third of our entire HP as we get punished for apparently overextending. I don't know that we really did overextend, but there's 3 ships out here. The rest of our team is clustered up by that island. And of course, we were the most attractive target. So we lose a lot of HP, but we're able to gain it back because in the July 2026 update, the San Martin and the Pan American Cruiser line all received buffs to the repair party. I don't exactly remember, or actually I could tell you, the repair party on the San Martin in particular, prior to this buff, it was pretty conventional. It restored zero point 0.7 HP per second, but the buff increased that value to 1.2% per second, which, if my math is correct, is a 71.4% buff to the power of this repair party. Perhaps one of the biggest buffs that has been implemented in the year 2026. I don't know, but what I can tell you now is that post buff, this heal on the San Martin restores 597 HP per second for a duration of 30.8 seconds. Now, that duration is going to be influenced by the commander's base trait, which increases the duration of all consumables by 10%. The commander is Lisboa, of course. I'll show you the build here. He's got some other skills that buff the consumable parameters. But anyway, 30.8 seconds for 597 HP per second. That is a total of 18,370 or 387 HP per heal. Now, you won't ever heal that much because, of course, the heals are not going to restore 100% of damage taken. But that's a lot of HP that you could get back from one use of the heal. By the way, this is the point in the battle where I really got frustrated. Do you see what happened there that the Andalusia just did? He permanently blacked out my very front turret. You see that there? And now we are down to 3 turrets instead of 4. It's going to remain that way for the duration of the battle. Wargaming, for the love of RNGesus, if you are watching this video, this mechanic is terrible. It sucks. Do not allow modules like this to be permanently destroyed for the duration of the battle. I've got one of my hands tied behind my back now. However, the San Martin is good enough that ultimately we're going to still find success in this battle, despite the fact that we lost a quarter of our firepower. Anyway, back to the heal parameters. So 18,000 HP. But then on Lisboa's skill tree, in the second row, we've got a skill called Peace is Not an Option, which increases the duration of the consumable per main battery hit by 1% for up to 20%. Now, if I'm reading that skill correctly, that means the heal on the San Martin can increase in duration, and instead of restoring 22k HP in total, or instead of restoring 18k HP in total, theoretically, it could restore 22k. Theoretically. I don't think you're ever going to be achieving that, but the bottom line is this heal is much improved compared to the original version, which was very much conventional. We still have the same problem, though, where the heal rests in the second consumable slot, and you've got the option to exchange the heal for a smoke screen. Previously, I was unconvinced that you should take the heal over the smoke screen just because it restored about 1 bar of HP, and I didn't find it all that useful. The smoke screen seemed better if the goal was to improve the survivability of this ship, which it needs improving some way because it just doesn't have any armor. Well, now that the heal is buffed, I think it's worth taking the heal over the smoke. And because the heal restores so much more HP per second, the cruiser is tankier. It doesn't quite match the level of tankiness that you can achieve with it on PC if you play the thing right and risk your HP in order to charge up your funny button. We don't have those kind of concerns in Legends. But with this heal now, I think the experience of playing this cruiser is much improved. And I can tell you, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the battle you're seeing playing out before you right now is, or would have been, impossible prior to this buff, even if we had been using the heal. I don't know that we would be dead at this particular moment in time, but we wouldn't be able to sustain ourselves all the way till the end of the battle like you're going to see us do here. We've still got Andalusia hanging around in this part of the map. There's a battleship out there that I was kind of worried about. He's unspotted, trying to keep our broadside away from him because once again, as we're spotted, the rest of the enemy team wants to shoot at us. But one really good thing about this cruiser in particular, and I think this is true of the higher tier ships on the line, is that on these 152mm guns, normally you would have conventional HE pen. And so you would be penning, what, 26 millimeters of armor, I think? Well, the Andalusia is a ship that has, I think, 27 millimeter plating along the sides, if not 30, 25 on the bow and stern, I believe. But the San Martin's HE pens 30 millimeters of armor. So we can pen his hull in a lot more places, which really helps with sinking him. He goes down as our first kill of the game. We're up to 94,000 damage. And this battle, which features no destroyers on either team and is kind of annoying in that sense because you want there to be destroyers so you have spotting, well, this battle is pretty much even now. Both teams have lost 4 ships, and now what we need to do is try to turn the tide. So, of course, take a look at the minimap. We are quite far out of position. We're all the way down here on the 10 line, and the rest of the enemy team is up in between the 1 and 2 lines, somewhere near the Alpha or Bravo caps, except for this one battleship right here, who is going to capture the attention of the 3 remaining blue teammates that we have on this flank until he sinks. Now, this guy is not really going to be relevant to the outcome of the battle. He's hugging the map border on the A6, A7 grid square, and he's just going to go down under sustained focus fire from my teammates. But we don't want him to be floating very long at all. We want him gone instantly, so these guys are not paying attention to him and will instead turn their attentions back to the other side of the map, where, as you can see, there is one single cruiser kiting away from the Bravo cap, and he is all that is standing in between the battleship and the 2 cruisers over there. So we can reliably predict he is going to lose. He's going to sink. We need this GK off the board. We need to stop worrying about him at all. And we need to go back and deal with the enemy ships around Bravo and Alpha. Ideally, we need to probably take one of those caps too. if not sink all of those enemy ships, because they are about to have 2 caps to R1, and that means they are going to accrue points faster than we are. We're ahead of them on points, but just by over 100. That will change very quickly after they secure the Bravo cap. So, as soon as GK goes down, we instantly begin to head toward that side of the map just as they take out our last remaining friendly cruiser. And I believe the ships with us are also going to head in that direction. This battle could go either way at this point. It's a 4v4. Enemy has the cap advantage, and even though I don't like this matchmaking due to the lack of destroyers, this is the kind of battle you want. One that is going to be decided down at the wire, and whatever decisions you make are probably going to be consequential to the outcome. But anyway, San Martin's guns are pretty good with their 30mm pen. We've also got a 7.5% fire chance, and the AP for its part is not bad either. The AP shell damage is 3400, doesn't have any improved pen angles, but I've found that the AP does tend to hurt. The main problem that I think still exists with this ship in particular is, for some reason, the concealment is tragic. We have a sea detectability range of 10.7 kilometers, and you may think, oh, well, that's not too terribly bad, right? Well, that 10.7, that is with the concealment module in the third slot, and that is also with a fully maxed Makawa and a fully maxed Makawa and a fully maxed Swirsky as the two inspirations, 10.7 km. So many other cruisers, including the Minotaur out here, who's also a light cruiser, outspots us. But you see, that Minotaur has the benefit of access to both a smokescreen and a super heal. We've got a much improved heal, but we can't use the heal and the smokescreen at the same time. And there are still other ships floating around these seas that have better concealment than 10.7, especially if you fully build for it. Prior to, I think, the nerf, the Howden Lu had a sea detectability range of less than 10 km. I think that's a bit different now after the nerf that it received, but 10.7 is just a bit absurd. However, we are making it out alive here. The Minotaur did smoke up. The Henri, which I don't think he was actually spotting us, it was the Jinan over there, 16 kilometers away, but he smoked up, so we are no longer detected. Minnow is still alive for the moment, and we have vision of Henri, so we can fire at him without worry of being seen. Somebody gets the Minotaur. I think it's the Howden Lu with his airstrikes blind in the smoke screen, so that's kind of nice. It's now a 4v3. Henri is coated in 30 millimeters of armor across the sides and the deck, and so the HE is going to have no problem chewing through that armor scheme and dealing penetration damage, not to mention the fires, which are pretty decent. We have 9 of them at this point, with 286 shells landed, and for most of this battle, we have been playing with only 3 out of 4 of our turrets. Imagine if we had all 4 of them. The damage output would be even better. Now, of course, everything goes dark. Our battleships are relatively healthy, but too far away to spot anything. And as you can see, there's not a lot of time left in the game. The enemy team does have more points than us by just over 30, about 40 of them. So in order to decide this thing, we're going to have to spot these guys ourselves, and we're going to need our battleship teammates to come through and land some shots on them, so the Aki can't be hiding behind the island. And it does look like they have shots. We decide to open fire, especially because Incomparables right there. He does turn to try to get his guns on target, and that opens him up to the battleships. So he goes down, but the enemy team is still going to be ahead of us on points within the next couple of seconds by virtue of holding 2 of the caps. So we have to take out Henri. If we don't take out Henri, we lose. If we do, probably we win. That's going to be enough of a point swing to put us ahead, and unless that Jinan or Sejong or whatever it is can sink one of our battleships, I think they're going to lose. Just over 30 seconds left, and thankfully, the HE penetration on the San Martin is really useful in this situation. Henri doesn't really stand a chance unless he somehow sinks us before we sink him, but it doesn't happen. We secure the kill in the final moments of the battle. That puts us ahead on points far enough that we are going to win this match. And frankly, this was an enjoyable match to play. This is the most enjoyable time I've had in the San Martin since it was released in this game. And I think because of the buff to the heal, the ship is much improved. I would definitely take the heal over the smoke screen now. I do still kind of wish that you could take both. I don't know why you can't. Other ships can. I don't think if this line could, it would be overpowered in any way, but it is what it is, I suppose. And I think the concealment could be less trash. That would be helpful. But all in all, I'd say this cruiser is at the very least okay now. And as you can see from this battle, it has a lot of sustain. This battle would have been impossible without this newly buffed heal. So I hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.